they die before the spouse. So if it tips up on the end, you're not going to have another marriage line in there. Sometimes after that nice long line, you'll have a little tiny short line, which means you're probably going to marry some old duffer when you're about 80 years old. The children lines will run vertically across these lines, the marriage lines here, or if they're really short marriage lines, they won't get that far. The children lines start right in the middle of this finger right here, and they go right straight up and down. See how straight up and down these lines are? And this is the first child, the second child, the third child, and the fourth child, fifth child, etc. You always count from the inside out. So, first child, second child, third child, fourth child. It looks like he's just had 4 children. This line in between the lifeline and the headline is your health. It has to do with your organs in your body. Your colon, your stomach, your liver, whatever. If that line is nice and clean, that's good health. But if you get a lot of little lines, little fussy lines in there, generally means a irritable colon or a nervous stomach, nervous colon. Especially nervous stomach, nervous and colon will show with extra little lines through there. But when you hit right here on the headline, that changes to the money line. And the money line will go right up towards that little finger. See that money line going right up there? And here's the early part of your life, the later part of your life. If you get a lot of little extra lines up in here, that is an indication that you've got extra income. So when you retire, it looks like he's got about 3 sources of income when he retires. After the money line here, we'll move over to the line right here. This shows on some people, and on some people it won't show at all. But this is an achievement line. And it goes up to the finger here that is the right brain finger. And when that goes right up there, it is an indication of a person who's an achiever or a very creative person. And the line will sometimes break, start. His just travels right straight up to that finger, which means he's very right-brained and very creative. He thinks in a creative manner. Now we're over to the fate line here. This is an extremely important line. This is the one that's going to tell you how long you're going to live. It has 2 starts to it. It always starts down here at the base of the palm. So if it starts to the outside of the hand, see how that goes in the fat pad of the hand down here? It means you're a very sociable person. You've got to have your friends and family around you all the time. But if the line comes down and goes straight down like this, so that it's like straight from here right up to that middle finger, it means you're a private person. You got to have a little private space or you're not a happy camper. It's nice if you match those 2 lines with your mate or with your main relationship or your marriage line or whatever, because then you're both on the same wavelength and you understand each other. But if one of you has a private line and one of you has a sociable line, you're going to have to take that into account and accommodate each other, because that line very rarely changes. You're generally born with that line. Sociable on the outside of the hand here, private when it runs right down the middle of the hand here. Now that line goes up only to that middle finger, and that's the fate line. It's going to tell you any changes in your career or your job. If that comes up and breaks and moves over, starts again, that's the age where you'll have a change in your job or your career. So you can gear that by this line right here, the headline. That is about age 40, where that crosses over that line. Where your heart line crosses over, it's generally about age 50, unless that heart line sits unusually low down in the hand. It should sit about, a little bit more than a half an inch above that. So there's 40, here's 50, and the line travels right up here to the middle finger. When you get to the ring around the middle finger, that means you're at least going to live until you're 80 years old. Now, remember, every half an inch is 7 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's going to live till he's 88 years old. And this is fairly accurate. We've watched this with some of our older people, and we've come within about 2 or 3 months of when they died. So this is an accurate line. Now, smokers, I can't hardly get smokers much past 80. The best I can do is get them up to about 82 years old. But if they stop smoking, you'll see that line fill in right up here, up in their middle 80s, which means it adds on about 10 years or so to their life. And that actually changes. Now let's see the heart line. If you see any little islands in that heart line, it means some heart trouble. So you want to see a nice clean line in that heart line going across here. This little area right through here is your sixth sense. Generally you have to kind of squeeze the fingers together a little bit to get a little mount right in there. If you can palpitate that with your pen, that means that person is quite intuitive, and they kind of know things before they happen. If it's quite flat through that area, it's generally a sign of a person that's kind of clueless. And so the sixth sense, if it's a high mount, means you have good sixth sense. Listen to your little promptings, because that's intuition you're receiving. If it's kind of flat, you better tap into somebody else's intuition, because you're kind of clueless. You don't have an innate sixth sense. This little area right through here, you want to feel if you got a nice little fat pad in there. That's your sexual libido. When that's a nice little fat pad, that means good sexual libido, but it's also a test to see if you're well hydrated. If you can pick the skin up in that area, you're not well hydrated. This person is quite well hydrated. See, I can't pick the skin up. It's quite firm in there. So it means they're drinking good water. Check that all the time to see if you're well hydrated in this area right here at the base of the thumb.